And thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Washington is already talking about what's next following the indictment of President Trump's former campaign chairman Paul Manafort and his longtime associate Rick Gates. CBN's national security correspondent Eric Rosales has more on the 12-count indictment, which includes conspiring against the U.S. and money laundering.
The first charges from special counsel Robert Mueller were outlined in this 31-page indictment as part of the ongoing investigation of Russian interference in the election. In Mueller's crosshairs, Paul Manafort, President Trump's former campaign chairman, and deputy campaign manager Rick Gates. Both men arrived for their first federal court appearance Monday, where they pleaded not guilty to all charges. The 12-count indictment details Manafort's lobbying work in Ukraine and what prosecutors claim was a scheme to hide money from tax collectors and the public. The indictment states Manafort used his hidden overseas wealth to enjoy a lavish lifestyle in the United States without paying taxes on that income. Authorities say Manafort laundered more than $18 million. Gates is accused of transferring more than $3 million from offshore accounts. The two are also charged with making false statements. Kevin Downing, who represents Manafort, called the indictment against his client ridiculous.
President Donald Trump was correct. There is no evidence that Mr. Manafort or the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government.
It's important to note the indictment makes no mention of President Trump or election meddling. Manafort has repeatedly denied collusion, including his time as Trump's campaign chairman.
Are there any ties between Mr. Trump, you or your campaign, and Putin and his regime?
No, there are not. It's absurd, and there's no basis to it.
Separately, one of President Trump's early foreign policy campaign advisors, George Papadopoulos, pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about meeting with a professor who had ties to the Kremlin. Papadopoulos told agents the conversation happened before he joined Mr. Trump's campaign, when in fact it occurred afterward. Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders held firm to the White House stance of no campaign collusion.
We've been saying from day one there's been no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, and nothing in the indictment today changes that at all.
Both men are under house arrest, with Manafort's bond set at $10 million and Gates at $5 million. The president's Twitter response pointed in another direction, writing, "Sorry, but this is years ago, before Paul Manafort was part of the Trump campaign. But why aren't crooked Hillary and the Dems the focus?" Sarah Huckabee Sanders ended her White House briefing stating the real collusion scandal has everything to do with the Clinton campaign and the Washington strategic firm Fusion GPS and Russia, claiming there is clear evidence of them colluding to spread disinformation and smear the president. Eric Rosales, CBN News, Washington.
Eric, thank you. A federal judge blocked most of President Trump's policy banning transgender Americans from serving in the military. That happened on Monday. The president announced the policy in a tweet last July. He also said the military would not pay for transgender surgeries. President Trump later issued a formal presidential memorandum and gave the Department of Defense 6 months to implement the policy.
The President of the United States told thousands of American service members that though they will lay down their lives for us, that we will not fight for them.
Several transgender military personnel sued to block the policy, and the judge agreed, for the most part, striking down the ban, but leaving the provision of not paying for surgeries. There are an estimated 2,500 transgender service members on active duty now. Scott Lloyd, the man who heads the Office of Refugee Resettlement, says his agency is reviewing its policy on pregnant teenagers in shelters who request an abortion. The HHS oversees the refugee agency and has said unaccompanied immigrant minors in its custody have no constitutional right to an abortion. The ACLU is suing the HHS over that policy. Lloyd told CBN pregnant minors in shelters have limited rights.
They're in a situation where they're not in a position to exercise fully whatever rights they might have. So if somebody asked me to take them down to the gun shop, they might have whether they have a constitutional right to it or not, the program is going to deny that request. And I think we're free to do so.
Lloyd described the number of pregnant teenagers in the shelters as a tiny minority. And he also said that most are not asking for abortions. The ACLU recently won a court case against Lloyd's agency. It involved a pregnant minor in a shelter who wanted an abortion. Jane Doe said the shelter staff refused to transport her for an abortion or allow anyone else to do so. Can Saudi Arabia be reformed? That is the vision of its future leader. And Aldir Hurd is following this story for us.
Saudi Arabia's young crown prince wants to bring a kinder and gentler Islam to the Desert Kingdom. But trying to make it happen could not only be tough, but dangerous. Since coming to power, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has been trying to move Saudi Arabia away from Wahhabism, a literal version of Islam so repressive that it's compared to the ideology of ISIS. Many call it a source of modern Islamic terrorism. The prince's reform plan is part of a program called Vision 2030, intended to remake the Saudi economy and society and to construct a futuristic economic district along the Red Sea coast, costing $500 billion. But reforming Wahhabism will be a major challenge. It's been Saudi Arabia's dominant brand of Islam since its beginning. Apostasy is punishable by death. Women have few rights and only just recently gained the right to drive cars. The open practice of Christianity is illegal. Public beheadings have been routine. Crown Prince Mohammed told the London Guardian newspaper he will return Saudi Arabia to moderate Islam and open the country to all religions.
Only want to go back to what we were, the moderate Islam that is open to the world, open to all the religions.
Mohammed is said to have already sidelined Wahhabi religious leaders who enforce the kingdom's extreme form of Islam. And he believes demographics are on his side.
70% of the Saudi people are less than 30 years old. And quite frankly, we will not waste 30 years of our lives in dealing with extremist ideas. We will destroy them today.
But danger abounds. The last time social reform was attempted in 1979, militants seized the Grand Mosque for 15 days and called for the overthrow of the House of Saud. Hundreds died before commandos reclaimed the site. The same hardline spirit that resisted reform almost 40 years ago is still strong in Saudi Arabia today, and could fight to prevent the kind of reform the prince wants to bring. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Coming up, the lights may have gone out on Duck Dynasty, but that is not stopping the Roberts clan from making their voices heard. Our Korie Robertson speaks out about racism, religious liberty, and other hot-button topics. Duck Dynasty ended its record-breaking 6-season run a few months ago, and much of the family has gone back to living their lives off camera. CBN's Abigail Robertson sat down with Korie Robertson to discuss life after Duck Dynasty.
Fire in the hole.
For 5 years, the Robertson family entertained millions with their reality show Duck Dynasty, breaking the record for the most watched nonfiction cable series in TV history.
We were totally surprised that it was such a hit. I mean, I think we felt like, you know, we thought it was funny. You know, we were kind of seeing what it was coming out, and we thought it was funny, but we had no idea. Like, there was no way to predict or expect that it was going to do what it did.
Although it was not a Christian show, the Robertsons expressed their faith in each episode. Korie told me how she feels it resonated and why she thinks TV needs more wholesome family programs.
I think other believers need to step up and get in entertainment, because entertainment really does affect our country, and it affects us in a big way. We saw that with our show, but I think that was a big part of it. We hear people say, I can watch it with my 3-year-old or my granddad, you know, and I don't have to worry about what's going to be on television. And that is rare for television today. And I think that the success of our show should have sent a really pretty strong message that this is really what people want, and this is what people want to see.
From the start, viewers got a strong message when the family would pray together to end each show.
It just became this really big deal. It made such an impact. You know, and as we heard stories from other people would come up and say, you know, we're sitting down as a family and our children won't let us eat before we say a prayer because of your show. And it just really had impact on families all over the country.
While Korie and her family are adjusting to life away from the cameras, they're not out of the spotlight. Family members travel the country, speaking their heart on issues ranging from religion to racism.
We have to stand up, and we should we should be emotional about things like that, and we have to stand up and talk about it. But, you know, when our family hit mainstream and, you know, all of a sudden all of America's watching, you know, they noticed our son's biracial, and we got comments and we got hate and negativity, and, you know, we were actually targeted by white supremacists at one point. And so it's just shocking and scary and sad to know that that still exists in our country.
Yeah. How do you think the church should be promoting racial healing in our country right now?
I think the church should be the leader in that. I think we need to speak up, and we need to talk about it. You know, sometimes we kind of just don't talk about it because maybe in some ways we don't know what to say. We don't want to make a mistake. We want to be politically correct or whatever. So we just stay silent and hope that it gets better. And, you know, I don't think that's really not the way to healing. You know, we do have to talk about it.
Korie and her husband even shared their family feuds over supporting President Trump.
I think it has been a rough couple of years, you know, with the election and President Trump, because he does say a lot of things that I don't agree with. I know they don't match up with my values, and so that has been hard. And but I think that as Christian women, you know, we can't just put our head in the sand. I think this is a time when we're going to have to figure out how to come together, how to find that commonality, find the common ground, find the things that we do agree on, and how to work towards a more peaceful, a more unified country. And you know, a big part of that is just going to God in prayer, you know, just taking it to Him.
Her daughter Sadie is taking her mother's advice, posting a video recently on YouTube, praying for our president and our country.
And Mr. Trump, if you're watching this, I am rooting you on, and I want to let you know I believe the best in you.
Sadie also recently shared about her struggles with an eating disorder that she hid from her family.
As a mom, it just breaks your heart to hear that your child's going through that, but I'm so thankful that she is able to use that and use how, you know, how she overcame that, how God overcame that through her, and how she overcame it through God, and how she's able to talk to other girls and encourage other girls, because it is something that is such a struggle for so many young girls and women of all ages that, you know, if we don't talk about it, we keep things in the darkness, then Satan has power over it. But when we bring it to the light, then God can do His work.
Hollywood didn't intend on putting the Robertsons' faith on display for 6 seasons. But there's some things even editing can't hide.
From the beginning, we said, you know, it's not like we're going to be preaching on this show, but they're not going to get around it because our faith informs everything that we do.
And as you look back on all the episodes and all the seasons, do you feel like it was a real depiction of your family's life?
You know, it really was. I mean, it's a television show, of course, and, you know, there has to be, you know, a storyline, a beginning and an end, but it really was. It really is who we are, and we really fought hard for that from the very beginning. We were like, you know, this is who we are, this is our family, and, you know, if you want us, then this is what you're going to get. And we try to, you know, be true to who we are the whole time.
As for what's next, Korie says she really doesn't know yet, but if I had to guess, I'd say we've only seen the beginning of this Robertson family. Reporting from Washington, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Up next, I'm sitting down with worship leader Cody Carnes to hear the story behind his latest project. Christian author and speaker Lisa Turquoise says she has breast cancer. The president of Proverbs 31 Ministries made the announcement in a Facebook Live video Monday. She went in for a routine mammogram, she says. When she went to doctors, they saw a mass. The announcement comes after the Bible teacher announced she would be divorcing her husband of 25 years because of infidelity. Despite the hard-hitting news, she says she feels like she is in good spirits. Please keep her in your prayers. Cody Carnes is a worship leader, musician, songwriter, and is married to Christian recording artist Korie Job. I sat down with him to hear about his latest musical project.
The cross has the final word. The cross has the final word. And evil may put up its strongest fight. The cross has the final word.
I'd like to begin talking about your debut album, The Darker the Night, The Brighter the Morning.
Yes, long time. I'm impressed when somebody can say it right. Yeah.
First, that title, what was it about? What's happening, what we're hearing?
Yes, so that title, it comes from a song on the record called Hold It All, which says, you hold it all, the darker the night, the brighter. John 1 tells us that light has already overcome the dark and the darkness cannot extinguish it. So the truth is that what Jesus did at the cross, it silenced and overcame darkness once and for all. And we're living in a world, in a time right now where day to day it can seem like darkness is winning. It can seem like evil is rising up. It can seem like things are getting out of control. And but the truth is that it's already lost. And it was also personal for me and personal for Korie as well. Her album, The Garden, came out of this time of just a lot of devastation in our family. And so I was writing this album around that same time. And so I just learned the importance of worship in those scenarios. I learned the importance of worship in something hard and actually declaring the faithfulness of God. You see the faithfulness of God when you speak it and when you declare it. So that's what this album is. It's just a declaration of faith and saying, God, I trust you no matter what it looks like. And we've seen God work some amazing miracles in our family and our lives. And man, he's really turned ashes into beauty in some amazing ways. And so it was just kind of also like a testimony of our lives and what we've seen God do. And I've seen you be faithful every time, God, so this won't be any different.
My favorite song is The Cross Has the Final Say. What's your favorite on there?
Honestly, I'm really proud of this album. I love the songs live. I mean, I love What Freedom Feels Like is a fun one. It's really great. Resurrection Blood is really fun live. Till the End of Time is fun. Korie's on that one, and I really am proud of it. I really love all the songs, honestly. So,
in light of the fact that there's a garden at your house that seems to have given birth to some great music, can you please tell me about that garden?
Well, it was funny. We bought our house in December, so we really had no idea that there was a garden back there because everything was dead. In April, Korie comes down one day and she's in the middle of writing for her album, and she walks down one day and it literally felt like the garden in our backyard had bloomed overnight. And it was almost just like when you stepped out into that garden, it was like God was speaking, like, I've gone before you. And it was like you could just feel the presence of God in that place. And so that's really what the Garden song came from. We were writing at our house with a couple friends, and God will speak in all kinds of ways if you listen. Sometimes I miss it. But yeah, God really spoke through that.
You've been singing for as long as you have, but this is your debut album?
Yeah, it is.
What took so long?
I took a left turn in life because I moved to Arizona to plant a church. It really didn't make any sense to me because I was like, God, I'm about to start this whole music career. I'm about to do this thing. It's all working. And God said, no, I want you to go do this. And I was at that church plant for 3 years. God really did some things in my heart and my character in that season. And I feel thankful for that, because I think if I would have jumped into it before God's timing, I think it would have been too much, or I think I would have maybe not made the album that I should have made, or maybe would have jumped into a deal that wasn't right. Because I waited, everything I've stepped into has just been so effortless, so easy. The doors have just been open. I've just been walking through what God is putting before me, and everything's happened like that. And it just really taught me that I don't ever have to make way for myself. I can just always trust God that He's doing things, He's working things out, and I just have to be faithful and diligent to walk through what He puts in front of me. But that was just the way it worked out.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. The Darker the Night, the Brighter the Morning is available wherever music is sold. Now, for more uplifting entertainment news, be sure to check out Studio 5. This week, we're sitting down with recording artist Tina Campbell just as she cancels her tour. Hear what happened and why she endorsed President Trump. The show airs every Wednesday at 5. And stay with us. There's much more of CBN Newswatch coming up right after this. It is time now for your Tuesday Tweetable, and I hope this message will inspire you and move you to post, tag, tweet, and share it with others. Consider this and carry this throughout your day as well as the week. Regardless of this moment of crisis or moment of comfort, God is about to do His greatest work in you. With that word, be sure to make this a terrific Tuesday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And we love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com and reach us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make this a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.